Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, getting some more Season 15 Go Battle League battles, these taking place in the Open Ultra League meta, and in today's video, I stole a team from a viewer by the name of Snots. The link to his Twitter will be in the description of this video, and it's a triple non-XL pretty much discounted meta team to run for some successful climbing in the Ultra League meta that almost anybody should be able to afford. There's one legendary, you have a Shadow Snorlax, and you have an Escavalier, and I use this team myself for a collection of battles that are in front of you for quite the success as I continue to make my push to the veteran rank. So let's jump into these battles as they've already been going on. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, look at this battle build 2 for 2 on YouTube uploads. Surely the streak will continue, and in this current match we have the Cresselia matchup against the Shadow Snorlax, and it's a pretty good matchup on our end. We have the swap out of our Giratina on Crest because we have two answers in the back that do well. We don't want to leave our Giratina in there, and the main safe swap of this team is going to be Shadow Snorlax 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, or really in almost all scenarios. If you need to safe swap with this team, it's relatively straightforward. Our opponent then matches our Shadow Snorlax with their Charizard. We're down a shield, but we're going to get that shield back. They're going to wing attack farm us down. We're going to come in with our Giratina altered, go for the Dragon Breath farm down, but they're going to be able to get off one more Dragon Club before we take them out. They're then going to come back in with their Escavalier, and we're going to hard swap into, their Cresselia. We're going to hard swap into our Escavalier and hope that they do not have a legitimate answer to our Escav, and unfortunately they kind of do, but we are ahead in energy. Our goal and our hope is to land this Mega Horn. We're not baiting. Boom! Unfortunately, it goes shielded, so we have to let our Escav go down in hopes that Giratina can essentially win its way through this matchup. Our opponent goes straight for the Earthquake, which was pretty crazy. They still require a Hydro Cannon. I'm pretty sure 2 Hydro Cannons were just taking us out, and that was a waste of energy, and we're going to do our best to take advantage of that wasted energy by going for a Dragon Claw right before their next Hydro Cannon to hopefully take out their remaining health. It doesn't take out, but the 1 HP gets Dragon Breath down. We have the 1 shield scenario with our Giratina altered on the Cresselia. We need to get off at least 2 Shadow Sneaks to win this matchup. We should survive a Moonblast in case they threw it, but they need to get off 2 because of our shield, and we're able to take that match. We would have gotten to the Dragon Claw in time. Our opponent decided to top left. Getting to this next matchup, we have what looks like a bad lead because our Giratina is a Ghost type up against the Dark type of Scrafty. But the positive here for this team comp is the fact that we're running Dragon Breath as our fast move on Giratina altered, and depending on the IV spread you're running, you should be able to tank 2 foul plays and potentially win the 0 shields. But unfortunately, I'm running a Dragon Breath Giratina that has a specific Dragon Breath breakpoint that I think is useful for like the Swampert matchup. It's like a swag tip IV, but it does not benefit me here as I lose the 0 shield against their Scrafty after 2 foul plays, and now we're not in the most ideal circumstances. So our Escav is lined up with their Trevenant. We swap into our Snorlax, and then they have an answer to that being their Shadow Drapion. They're going to be spamming crunches. We're going to be wanting to get off our body slams as fast as possible. The question is, do we have enough health, or will we be able to spam enough moves to potentially get the shield from this Drapion, take out the Trevenant with maybe a Mega Horn on our Escav, and turn this match around? Either way, we're not in an ideal circumstance. Our opponent's going for another move. We have them in what looks like a positive health situation for us in the ideal of trying to counter down, but our opponent is going to throw a charge move here. It's going to be a crunch. We don't want to use a shield because we're worried about potentially getting Shadow Balled by the opponent's Trevenant, but we should have committed the shield there. We're also trying to bait our Mega Horn onto the Trevenant in hopes they shield, and they don't, and based on this sequence of plays, we have the top left. Definitely some relatively major misplays on my end to lose that match, but I could have potentially landed the Mega Horn there. I could have also potentially played it a little different in shielding my Escav to win that match, but unfortunately it was not the team comp's fault, it was my own. Getting to this next matchup, we have a bad lead, so we have to safe swap into our Snorlax. They stayed in for a bit, and then they matched us with a Tapu Fini. They're going to throw their energy, and our goal here is to hopefully flip switch so that our Escavalier can line up with the Alolan Sandslash, since Giratina has such a terrible matchup against it, and Escav has a fantastic matchup. We committed a shield in hopes that we'd be able to get off another body slam before they get off a Surf. We're going to be able to do that. We're going to either take their first shield or take them out. We do get the first shield. We also have them in a health range where we could possibly lick them down. This might come down to the wire before they get off another Surf, and because we're going to be able to lick them down, they decide to pivot because they don't want to give our Snorlax any free farm. They're going to go Golisopod. We end up with alignment, which is huge for us because we resist all of the Golisopod's charge moves, but the one concern is that we take super effective from Golisopod running Shadow Claw as its fast move, and the liquidations they're throwing are getting debuffs. They got one on the first one, they're throwing another liquidation here, they get a second debuff, so this Golisopod is playing this matchup as ideally as it possibly can, but we're still going to get off from their Dragon Claw, either forcing the shields or taking the Golisopod out. We're in hopefully a positive situation here, but we are down a shield, so what we want to do is we want to come in with our Snorlax, either bait the fact or try to build up to the superpower to force their energy out, just like is happening right here, and then we're going to come with our Escav because we just wanted to get their Alolan Sandslash as energy dry as possible, considering we were right at that superpower. Our goal now is to commit to a complete counter down in hopes that the Alolan Sandslash does not get 2 moves off, and then our Escav can hopefully take out their last mon, ends up being the Tapu Fini. We're able to counter it down. That's huge, and we're going to end up pulling out that match, overcoming the bad lead. So after a match I played poorly, I played the next one very well, and I'm able to pull out the dub. Getting to this next matchup, we have Giratina altered against a Guzzlord lead. Our opponent makes a fantastic catch of Dragon Claw on their Cresselia instead of taking the super effective move on their Dragon Dark type of Guzzlord, but we have the perfect answer for Cresselia in the form of our Escavalier, especially with the fact that they're not running Future Sight, they're running Moonblast. So we're going to be able to eat a few moves. I'm going to get extremely greedy in this matchup. I'm going to throw the Mega Horn here and then commit to the non-stab resisted counter down. They're going to get off another Moonblast in this circumstance, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to take them out, get them down to 1 HP, and then unfortunately they get to a Grass Knot just in time. We're forced to use a shield here. We might have been able to survive that Grass Knot, but I wanted to have a little bit of additional health so that one fast move of Water Gun from the Tapu Fini does not take us out, in hopes that we get all both of our charge moves. So at the very least, we used a poor shield there, but we're able to make use of the energy, get one of the shields back, land a huge drill run on the Tapu Fini. We come in with our Snorlax against the Tapu Fini, and we just want to make sure we maintain alignment. Our opponent is going for the big move here because we have a ton of health on our Snorlax, and a lot of people love to throw the big moves in these types of situations because Snorlax is so bulky, they're not expecting people to shield. So we build up to essentially 2 body slams and hoping that they don't know where our energy's at, and they have no idea. We get their final shield, and we're already at the next body slam that is going to allow us to take out their Tapu Fini's remaining health. Now our hope is to just either land a superpower from our Snorlax onto the Guzzlord or get to a Dragon Claw on our Giratina, and unfortunately our opponent is able to play this timing wise perfectly with their Guzzlord onto our Giratina, and at this point we're not in the best circumstances. We need to survive this move. We're going to survive the crunch. We get defense debuff, which is super unfortunate, but we're able to just get to the body slam in time. We're not going to make the superpower, but the body slam is enough for the 1 HP in a dream type dub with Snorlax against their Guzzlord. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to play that endgame scenario, but because it ended up way closer than it appeared as it should have, but we ended up with the win regardless, so we move forward. We have Giratina altered against a Haxorus lead. Haxorus in Ultra League with Breaking Swipe could be pretty solid. They throw a Breaking Swipe and then dip into a Registeel. That is not the safest of swaps for them. We're going to match their Registeel with our Escavalier. They're going to throw Zap Cannons. We really don't need the shield in this circumstance, but because Escavalier is such a positive matchup for Registeel, we want to see if we can play this in a way where we can get greedy. But because of the debuff, and we're worried we're going to take another move, we don't want to overfarm too much. We only go 1 counter over the drill run. We're throwing it here. We do get their shields. We're hoping we're going to be able to counter them all the way down, so we commit another shield. They throw a Focus Blast. We would survive either of these moves. You really don't need to use shields in this scenario. I wanted to commit to the counter down, but then I started to get nervous and I wanted to preserve the health on Escav, so I threw the drill run on their Registeel, preserved the health instead of leaving with a bunch of energy. They come in with their Haxors, and we're just hoping we can get off a charge move here. They're either throwing Night Slash or Surf. They don't want to throw the Breaking Swipe because that would be resisted. Ends up being the Surf, but Escavalier holds on with 1 HP, and that ends up being huge. We get the drill run off, takes out the Haxors down to their last mon, ends up being an Alolan Sandslash, which is one of the lesser ideal mons for us to be running into in this endgame scenario without our Escavalier alive. So we're just going to have to build up to 2 superpowers in hopes that all the resisted Shadow Claws from their Shadow Alolan Sandslash don't add up against our Snorlax. They throw 1 drill run based on the way our health is set up. We should be able to survive another one. So we're going to superpower, dip, go into Giratina, force them to throw. Boom, right on the money. We fully expected that immediate throw because our defense would have been debuffed. They need to commit to a Shadow Claw farm down, because if they do not, we're going to be able to just throw the superpower easily and they won't have enough health to take out our Snorlax, but they're not even able to Shadow Claw down, and Giratina altered ends up being an Alolan Sandslash counter confirmed. Boom. Getting into this next match, we have what you can barely see is a Giratina altered up against a Therian Landorus. It's a relatively positive matchup just based on the fact that they're not running Outrage in this meta. If you're going to run Landorus Incarnate, my apologies. If you want to run it, you want to run Rock Slide and Earth Power as a moveset. So they swapped out into Clefable, and we match with Excavalier. But what I've come to learn now, Clefable with goddamn Fairy Wind instead of Charm as its fast move does not care about your steel types. That first Moonblast that landed on Escav did an insane amount of damage, all things considered, and this freaking Clefable is resisting all of our counters and then tanking drill runs like it's no big deal. They then waited out the switch timer to swap, throw the charge move or the energy they banked up on their Landorus from before, and their Clefable's still alive in the back, and we're in quite a concerning situation. The Clefable would have also just won out that match, but they decided to commit when they decided against it for whatever reason. The Landorus comes back in, they're going to get off an Earth Power. That does a huge amount of damage because the Landorus is high attack stat, especially at the Ultra League CP. We fully expect that Clefable to come back in. It should be switch luck because of the way that they swapped. So we come into Snorlax immediately. We're fully expecting another Moonblast here, but they end up Meteor Mash baiting, which is insane. And then they go into their last Monolith, which ends up being a Cobalion. We are not in a great scenario because we have a fighter lined up with our normal type, and then our Dragon is lined up with their Fairy in the back. Our hopes here is that we can land 2 superpowers, and that may be enough to potentially take out the Cobalion, but even then we're not going to be in a great spot because I don't know how the Giratina is going to even deal with that Clefable. So at this point, the writing's on the wall for me, and I should really be utilizing that top left button that is on my account, on my game in front of me, but we're going to stick it through and see if we can pull out anything last second. I try to get greedy and get the 2 Shadow Sneaks because that's what would be needed to potentially take out their Cobalion and their Clefable, but I think their Clefable had too much health regardless, and I was not able to get to the 2 charge moves in time. Their Cobalion beats my Giratina. Getting to the next matchup, we have the Giratina matchup against the Swampert, and we're hoping that we have that proper breakpoint to win this matchup. Our Dragon Breaths are adding up. We're throwing a Dragon Claw here. Because they decided not to shield. I think I actually do decide to shield because they're staying in this matchup, and that makes me feel like they're ABA weak or core broken by my Giratina. So we commit the shield there to preserve the health. They then swap in a Trevenant. We throw the Shadow Sneak, and then we go into a super hard counter of the Trevenant, that being our Snorlax, especially now that Trevenant's Seed Bomb has been nerfed even harder based on the new season. They're going to have a hard time popping them off, and as they do a little bit more damage now, but they're not doing enough damage to Snorlax for us to respect it in any way, shape, or form. The Swampert comes back in. We're worried they might be out of charge move, so we throw the Body Slam almost as quick as we possibly can, and now we're hoping that we can just lick it down based on the health that they're at, and we were able to. Their last mon ends up being Wall Rain. I was going to build up to 2 superpowers, but on the off chance they throw the Ice School Spear, I don't want to use a shield, so I get off 1 Body Slam there, and because of the Body Slam thrown, I guess they assumed that I wasn't going to have enough health to get off another charge move, and we get to the superpower. Bang, we get the shield, and we're in a fantastic end game scenario, that being our Excavalier against their Wolverine while we're up a shield. They need to essentially get off 3 Earthquakes, and they recognize this, knowing the game is over, and our Escav is able to close out the match. Shout out to Snots for the team recommendation. I had a lot of success with it. I'm super close to the veteran elo. I highly recommend you try out this team, especially if you need a budget team for Ultra League battles while there's still a few days left. Let me know your thoughts on the team, the battles, or anything else you'd like to see on the channel content-wise. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Preach!